Ken Trahan with Lenny Van Gilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and growing. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. It's college baseball regional weekend. 5 Louisiana teams in the field, so tremendous rooting interest and great interest, period, throughout our state. And, of course, Tulane heading to Oxford, and they are the number 2 seed at Ole Miss, and they got a very tough opponent in Boston College and a flamethrower in their opening game.
Yeah, potential first-round pick opposing the Green Wave. Sounds a little bit like 2004, where they had to face Washington in the first round in Oxford, and they faced a guy that people hadn't really heard a lot about at that point, a guy by the name of Tim Lincecum, and they ended up beating him on their way to winning a regional. Oxford is the only place Tulane has gone on the road and won a regional. This is the 19th time they've been on the road. They've hosted twice, and the only place they've won is Oxford. So they've got that going for them. This is an interesting region because Utah may be the best 4 seed in the field. Look, they are 2 games under 500, but they won the Pac-12 regular season. They won their last 8 series. This is not a 27-29 club, or exactly what their record is, but an under 500 team. So this is going to be really interesting to watch. Some of the national pundits have called this the best regional field out there.
Louisiana Tech getting back in. What a great story. It's been a long time, nearly 3 decades coming, but they're back in the tournament. Talk about them as a number 3 seed.
Look, they deserve it based on how they finished. They played themselves back into, regional contention, even with a 5th-place finish in Conference USA. The way they finished, sweeping Rice, getting to Saturday in the Conference USA tournament, and everything that led up to that, even taking a game the weekend before against Southern Miss in Hattiesburg. So, the hard part of their schedule was at the end, and they responded. And they've done some things throughout the year. It's not just the end of the year. And Greg Goff's team is a team that deserves it. You mentioned it's been since 1987. We were all baking out on the lakefront, watching a regional out there with 5 Louisiana schools, by the way, and Cal State Fullerton. Mm-hmm. The last team Tech played in the NCAA tournament was Cal State Fullerton. They got eliminated on the Saturday in 1987. And who do they open up with on Friday? Cal State Fullerton. Yeah. Go figure.
Yeah, really strange stuff. And then, of course, you've got Louisiana Lafayette. They earned a number 1 seed. They host a regional. They've been there. They've done that. And we're approaching the end of Teague Moore Field. So, listen, there's some beauty here. There's some magic here. And there's a really good program here that's consistently good that gives them a really good chance to get out of this.
Yeah, the reason we're seeing the end of Teague Moore Field as we know it is because they've basically outgrown the place with the crowds that they draw, and they've turned that into one of the best home field advantages in America, and a chance to show it off again this weekend. Really interested in that other first-round game there. Arizona, Sam Houston State should be a really interesting first-round game. Lafayette opening up with Princeton, the Ivy League champions in the first round. They should get through that. Although a couple of years ago when they were a national seed, they opened up with Jackson State and got beat in the first round. So you just never know when those ones face those 4s. There will be a couple of 4s beating ones in the first round on Friday. It happens every year.
And the only regional with multiple teams from Louisiana is Baton Rouge, where LSU, the 8th national seed, number 1 seed in their regional, opens against a team that people don't know about, and Southeastern Louisiana, on the other hand, opens against a team we see quite a bit.
Rice has been to Baton Rouge quite a few times, and again, so is Southeastern. And check out my story, today at SportsNola.com. It's a really interesting story about the 2 head coaches in this other matchup. One guy is slightly old. One guy's slightly young. Let's leave it at that. Wayne Graham, Matt Reiser, kind of an intriguing matchup in terms of who's managing things in the dugouts. Of course, you make LSU the favorite in this. The one thing to watch here, and for that matter, Lafayette, although maybe less so in Lafayette because they do have an all-turf field, how does the weather factor into all of this? And look, they'll get the games played, but it really could mess with pitching because if you play 2 or 3 innings and then you get a 2-hour rain delay and you go back out and play, how do you manage your pitching in that situation? I'll be interested to hear what Paul Mainieri has to say about how he's going to set up his pitching, knowing what the forecast is as a result of that.
And with regard to other sports, the Saints with OTAs continuing and media availability. So you can read about the Saints at SportsNola.com coming up. So, again, this is just a prelude to what transpires down the road, but hope springs eternal here where the Saints are concerned, and we'll continue to keep you posted. You can read about it at Sports Nola.
Certainly. Again, this is just But the big stuff is to come next month when they do report to training camp. A lot of ado about an entire team being on the field. You got 10 of these, OTA practices that, if you want to call them practices, you're really getting people acclimated all in the same setting before you go to training camp.
And where prep is concerned, a lot of people have been asking about American Legion baseball. Well, we published the schedule for the local American Legion teams at sportsnoah.com earlier this week, so check it out. You'll find the entire schedule so you can find out where your teams are playing and when. And we'll keep you posted on scores and schedules and everything else.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year for a lot of baseball going to get played in the month of June, and then it starts to whittle itself down after that. June is your regular season, and then really you start the postseason in July, and all counts down. Could we see a Louisiana team or a New Orleans area team in the American Legion World Series again? It's always a possibility because you've got some programs down here who do still put an emphasis on Legion. Rest of the state, not so much. But, here you're still seeing a little bit of an emphasis in the New Orleans area on Legion baseball.
Lenny, as always, thanks. Have a great weekend.
All right, we'll see you Monday.
That's our first NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 35 locations throughout Southeast Louisiana and into the Florida Panhandle. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. He's Lenny. I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.